The new girl arrived on a Monday morning, walking through the school gates with a backpack that looked too small for her past, and eyes that had seen far more than the average 17-year-old should. Her name was Elena Cross, quiet, polite, and distant. She had transferred from another state, but rumors already buzzed that her father was in the military and her mother worked overseas. Nobody knew for sure, but everyone could tell there was something about her, something untold, something that didn't fit into the quiet rhythm of Crestwood High. The school's hallway had its hierarchy, the loud, the popular, the feared, and above them all was Trent and his crew, self-appointed kings of the school. They ruled with intimidation and cruel laughter, always looking for a target to keep their reputation alive. When Elena walked in wearing a faded jacket and old sneakers, Trent saw what he thought was an easy mark, a new girl who wouldn't fight back. That afternoon, as she crossed the courtyard, they decided to test her. Trent's friend, Rico, pretended to trip near her, spilling his drink on her shoes. When she bent down to wipe it, Trent shoved her from behind, sending her to the ground as laughter echoed through the yard. Phones came out, recording. "Welcome to Crestwood, loser," Trent sneered. Elena didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just stood up, looked him dead in the eyes, and quietly said, "You'll regret that." Her tone wasn't angry, it was calm, chillingly calm, the kind that makes your spine crawl without knowing why. But to Trent, it was a challenge, and challenges couldn't go unanswered. The rest of the day, whispers spread through the school, the new girl talked back. That night, Elena sat alone in her room, staring at a small photograph, her brother, in uniform, smiling beside her. A folded flag rested in a box beside it. She took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and whispered, "You told me never to let anyone walk over me again." She opened her laptop, typing quickly, pulling up files, images, and something hidden behind a password only someone trained would use. Unknown to everyone in Crestwood, Elena wasn't just a new girl. She was a trained martial arts competitor, raised under the discipline of her late brother, a special forces operative. She'd seen more simulations, practiced real combat, and learned how to read people, their fear, their weakness, their intentions. She wasn't here to start trouble, but she wasn't going to run either. The next morning, she walked through the halls again, calm, steady, and unbothered. The bullies waited, confident they had already broken her spirit. What they didn't know was that in trying to humiliate her, they had just lit a fuse they couldn't control. By Wednesday, the bullying had escalated. Trent's group pushed her books out of her hands, threw paper balls at her in class, and even blocked her locker. The teachers, either blind or intimidated, did nothing. But instead of breaking down, Elena began to observe their patterns, their timing, their weaknesses. Every soldier studies their enemy, she remembered her brother saying, and she did exactly that. She noticed how Trent always checked his phone for approval from others, how Rico looked nervous when no one laughed, how the quiet girl behind them sometimes hesitated before joining in. She was mapping them, emotionally, mentally, and physically. That evening, as the rain poured outside, Elena trained in her backyard. The rhythmic sound of raindrops mixed with the thud of her fists against a sandbag. Her movements were controlled, graceful, deadly. She didn't plan revenge, she planned justice. The next day, the opportunity arrived. The bullies cornered her behind the gym after school, phones ready, ready to record another viral humiliation. "Where's your attitude now, new girl?" Trent taunted, stepping closer. She didn't flinch. She slowly set down her backpack and said, "You should stop now." Laughter filled the air. Rico pushed her shoulder, a mistake he'd regret instantly. In one swift motion, Elena stepped aside, grabbed his arm, and flipped him onto the ground with precision that shocked everyone. The crowd gasped. Before Trent could react, she pivoted, swept his legs, and sent him crashing into the dirt. No anger. No yelling. Just control. The video that was meant to humiliate her now showed something else: power, precision, and grace. She looked down at them and said quietly, "You wanted a show. Now you have one." Then she walked away, leaving the entire school speechless. By the next morning, the video had spread across every social platform in the school. The comments turned the tide: "She's a beast, bro," she dropped Trent like a soldier. Trent, humiliated and desperate to regain control, tried to confront her again, but something inside him shifted when she looked at him. Her eyes weren't those of a scared girl, they were those of someone who'd already survived battles he couldn't even imagine. The rumor about her family became fact. Her brother had been an elite soldier, killed in service, and she had trained with him for years. Suddenly, Trent and his crew weren't laughing anymore. For the first time, the school saw Elena not as a victim, but as someone untouchable, calm, strong, and unstoppable. But Elena didn't care for fame. She wasn't proud of what she did. She simply stood up for herself, the way her brother taught her. And in that act, she changed everything: the balance of fear in the school, the meaning of strength, and the courage of every quiet student who had ever been pushed down. Days turned into weeks, and Elena's story spread beyond Crestwood High. Students who once stood silent now walked taller. The bullies who once laughed now walked quietly through the halls, humbled by a girl they had underestimated. But Elena's victory wasn't about revenge, it was about respect. She began mentoring others, teaching a few girls self-defense moves, giving small talks about confidence, and reminding them that silence doesn't mean weakness. The same courtyard where she had been humiliated was now the ground where courage grew. Trent eventually approached her, his pride shattered but his tone sincere. "I'm sorry," he said one day after class, voice low. She looked at him, nodded, and replied, "Be better." No lecture, no revenge, just truth. From that day on, something changed in him too. The bullies who once caused pain began standing up against it. Sometimes, it takes one powerful act to rewrite the rules of an entire place. As months passed, Elena finally visited her brother's grave, placing her medal from a recent martial arts competition beside it. "I didn't fight to hurt them," she whispered. "I fought to honor what you taught me: never let fear define who you are." The wind rustled through the trees as if answering her with pride. And as her story spread, so did her message: true power isn't about strength, it's about self-control, courage, and kindness under fire. Elena's name became a quiet legend. Every freshman who entered Crestwood heard the story: don't mess with the quiet ones, you never know what battles they've already fought. So if you're watching this right now, remember, you have that same power inside you. Stand tall, stay kind, and never let bullies write your story. Flexed biceps.